Hey, what's up guys, welcome to another BMNR video. So in this video, I actually want to give out a bearish take on BMNR. Now, you have to remember, this is coming from a guy that has 1,700 shares of Bitmine at a $59 average, which is not a good average, but that's not the point, okay? I know my execution really sucked on this, but I want to give a bear case on Ethereum. And this is inspired by a video from Benjamin Cohen. If I remember, I'll put this in the description. Um, who has this custom logarithmic regression line, and based on all these points, he thinks that Ethereum might hit down to 2,000 to around 2,200. And I want to sort of discuss what happens to BMNR if it actually hits that price. And I have this table that I built here. So you can see the first three lines is the most recent shares outstanding and the actual current price here. And you can see that at a 1 MNF, the share price is about $28. Now, BMNR is getting a little bit of a premium. This is because they do have moonshots, but I'm not counting on the moonshots here. I'm only counting the Ethereum. I know some people do it differently, but I choose to only count the Ethereum that BMNR holds. And then we have the closest approximation with still the real share price, and it's still, my closest approximation is actually lower than the actual share price. And then we have Benjamin Cohen's $2,000 BMNA price. Okay, I had 2,200 here, but I'll just move it to 2,000. And you can see as I decrease that, we'll have an MNAV of we have a share price at a 1 MNAV of $18. Okay, so you add a little bit of a premium and you round up a little bit, it's around to $20. So that's really, I think, the bear case with BMNR. And I think at this point, um it's basically near the bottom. So it's gonna really 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 suck for me holding BMNR at 60. But if this happens, I might buy even a little bit more. Now I might be just digging my own grave here, but the grave's already dug 6 feet. Okay, I'm 2 feet in the grave, and I dug my own grave. Okay, so why not just continue to dig even further before I die? Um, and if BMNR hits around this price, I might buy it a little bit more. Now, obviously, these numbers are going to change. The shares outstanding are going to change. Maybe we can put in like this is going to be a rough estimation. We can put in 500 million shares, and then we can put in maybe 48 million Ethereum, and you still get $20. You still get 19 to $20. Okay, so um, it's all really just hinges on the price of Ethereum. And the reason I agree with Benjamin Cohen on this $2,000 price target is because we haven't seen a rotation out of the three main sectors that I want to see a rotation out of. I think there's going to be a rotation from AI, metals, and energy. No bull run really runs, really continues forever. Um, it doesn't take like someone that invested in the market for 20 years to tell you that literally no bull run continues forever. There is going to be a stop at some point. There's going to be a consolidation at some point. And if us BMNR holders are lucky, there might be even a sell-off, crash, and we might see some of that rotation, right? If not, we might see a rotation not from selling a lot of these, AI, metals, and energy stocks, but a rotation in terms of inflows. Maybe the inflows stop moving to AI, metals, and energy and move into something like crypto, or it can move into something else. I am not saying that crypto is the only candidate for that inflow. Um, but ultimately, the dollar is not going to save you. You can see here, I have a chart of Dixie here, and the dollar is not going to save you. And we already know this. We already know that inflation is eating away at the dollar. And I think ever since COVID, the dollar has been a very very bad place to store money. Unfortunately, a lot of people still store money in the dollar. But you know, I had this chat with the WhatsApp group that the older people are worried that the younger people are gonna think that whatever Trump does is going to be the new normal in the years ahead. But I think what the younger people should really learn is that the dollar should be invested, right? Fiat currency should be invested. Um, and maybe if you invest in AI, metals, and energy, you would have done better than me. But either ways, I think some part of your paycheck or some part of the dollar that you own has to be invested. Just look at the past 5 years, right, in terms of inflation and all that. Um, so just talking a little bit more about the rotation, why I think some of the money might rotate out of these companies. So as of AI, I have Nvidia out here. My thesis is that the OpenAI IPO and the Anthropic IPO is going to show that, well, maybe it might show that the AI investments are not necessarily profitable. And what that could cause is first off, the people that invested pre IPO are definitely going to sell, and that money is going to have to rotate somewhere. So we're gonna get the initial IPO lockout ending sell off, and then we are gonna get the financials, which depending on what the financials actually are, might have a crash or might cause an even bigger inflow. But my guess is that it's going to be bad. The financials are going to be bad on a lot of these companies. What do you think OpenAI keeps having to raise money? And I think the financials are definitely not great. Um, so that might cause a rotation out of AI. And as for gold and silver, I actually, I looked into it a little bit more. Gold and silver has always been an asset that that gets rotated out of. So a lot of these inflows will eventually have to get, rotated out of. Gold, as good as the run as it had, is not going to last forever. Nothing, no bull run lasts forever. It's been up since the start of the year about 20%. And eventually, you know, people are gonna make enough money off gold. They're gonna have to rotate out because it, you know, eventually gets too risky. Same thing with silver. Um, and if not, the is as for the industrial demand, if the industries stop paying for gold and silver, I'm not sure how much silver is used, but copper is definitely used. I don't have it out here, but copper is also up, right? Industrial demand for that is probably insane. If the industries can't pay out for the metals, then there is going to be a demand shock, right? So that's where we might see a rotation. And then as for energy, energy takes some time to build. That's my thesis. I think a lot of the expectations are way too high and way too short of a time frame. And energy is going to take some time to build out. As they are doing the build out, they might dilute their shares a little to raise some money. And that's where we can see money outflow from energy. Um, so money or capital, for that matter, has to rotate out of one of these three sectors or any other sector that has been out, and it has to rotate into Ethereum. As of now, I don't see any of that happening. Now this can change, at any time. But as of now, I don't see any rotation from AI, not from gold, not from energy, and we are not getting any support in terms of monetary policy. The Fed is not going to cut rates. We might have to wait a little bit longer, or we might even have to wait for a new Fed chair before we start getting a Fed rate cut. Okay, so we're not getting a rotation. The sentiment is bad, and monetary policy is not supporting it. And there are a lot of factors that you can point out. Just point out every other bearish factor, and I think we might see a continuation of this downtrend. So yeah, we have seen this before in a lot of charts, very often. What we see, um, I wouldn't say more often, but what we typically see is a continuation of a downtrend. So we see a downtrend, we see a consolidation, and then we typically see the momentum start again, and then another downtrend. And the bottom I think we might hit for Ethereum is going to be about 2000 to 2200. Um, and this is just my guess. Hopefully, I'm actually wrong, and this continues to go up, so I don't have to suffer through any more pain with BMNR. But I really think, since we're not seeing a rotation just yet, um, this is what might happen with Ethereum. And by the way, if this actually happens with Ethereum, I think eventually I'll become even more bullish on it, because at this point I think Ethereum is going to be undervalued at 2200. um and we might see some more inflows because it's maybe too good to pass up. I don't know. So yeah, it's very, very unfortunate. I don't really like this bear case in particular, but I think probabilistically wise, there's like at least like a 35% probability of this happening. And you know, I just want to point out the bad case. So uh, just to tell you guys, I'm aware of it, and maybe if any of you are in BMNI as heavy as I am, just be prepared, man. Like, don't get your hopes up with this stock. At this point, I've already forgotten about my BMNR position. I've already given up, and I am pivoting my strategy to something else. Um, but if BMNR hits 20 bucks, I will consider buying a little bit more. I've already dug my grave at this point. I'm already 6 7 feet under, and I'm just gonna keep digging my grave. I'm already lying in it. I'm just gonna keep digging my grave. And if we make it out of this rut, I have some bull cases here. So I want to go through this because I haven't actually gone through this. My base case, actually, this was something that I written about what, like, 2 months ago. Um, so I'm not sure if the math here is necessarily correct. But I was just basing off the max amount of shares that BMNR had, which was 500 million, until Tom Lee found a way to increase it to 50 billion. Um, and at that point, I thought they would have about 6 million Ethereums. And then at a $4,000 price target, or price for Ethereum, they would have 24 billion. And then at a 1 MNF, that would be about 48. So even 2 months ago, at the max of BMNR's capacity, I would have not even broke even. So I was like, man, that really sucked, huh? And then I moved the ETH price to 7,000, and at this point, I would have made some profit. From 59 to 84, that's what, like a 20% profit. But if they get a 1.2 MNF, that's really where I wanted BMNR, right at 100. um, we did not get that. I thought we would get this at December. Okay, that's why I went so heavy into it, but we did not get that. That was too good to be true. And then for my back case, wow, this is a coincidence. Okay, for some reason I had 550 million shares. That was more than they were allowed, but I guess we'll ignore that. So I thought that they would have raised money some other way, so that's why I had more shares outstanding, just to simulate that. But now that's not a problem. Now they can dilute as much as they want now. And at a $2,000 ETH price, we will have 20 bucks. So it's the exact same thesis as Benjamin Cohen. So I guess I did think about this in the past. Then I'm not sure what we have here. We have some other approximations here. This is the exact same as my bull case. This is 4,800. So at 4,800, I would have broke even. So 4,800 for Ethereum. This is pretty interesting. Is the last peak, right? So the last peak would be 4,800. So at 4,800, I would have broke even. Um, and then at 10,000, so this is a little bit further out. I think this might take another 3 years. 10,000 BMNR is at 120, so I would have doubled my money. Okay, that is what we really want here. Um, but it's gonna take a longer time than a lot of people have patience for. Unfortunately, I mean, look at this, like 1.5 MNAF at 10,000. That's like 150 bucks if they don't dilute too much. So yeah, that is my thesis for BMNR. Why it could go down, but more importantly, I explain what happens after this rut, what happens when there is a rotation, and where that money might rotate out. So thank you guys for watching. Like, subscribe. See you in the next one.